Kia ora koutou. So yes, sorry about the abrupt ending to the last one, and as I said before, in this channel we're all content, no style whatsoever. A monkey could probably produce and film things better than what we do on this channel. So where were we? Okay, so Carl Gustav Jung, C.G. Jung as he's normally known, theorized that there are some personified images, let's say, which he called archetypes. Okay, and we all have these archetypes. They're all embedded within our unconscious, and when we dream, often they come up in the archetypes, and when we make art, you know, films, for example, stories, these archetypes come up in the stories. Okay, so the kind of things that the archetypes are, the most classic archetype, the one that's often most talked about is the shadow, which sounds kind of dark and sinister, but it isn't always. It does contain that. The shadow is the part of you that you don't want to acknowledge, the part of you that you don't want to recognize, all the kind of bits that you were taught were rude and you know, naughty when you were young, and also kind of, it can be kind of things like aptitudes that you don't acknowledge or don't recognize. So you might be very artistic, but you don't acknowledge that part of yourself, because maybe you were, you know, brought up to be an engineer and artistic stuff's all namby-pamby. So that the shadows are kind of one of the most famous ones. And you have the anima and the animus, which is as a male we would have a female archetype within us, which is the anima, and for a male it would be the animus. No, I've said that the wrong way around. I always remember it by anima, like ma for mother. So that's an archetype, and then there's a whole bunch of others. So there's like the wise old man, which is an archetype. Now, interestingly enough, I've got my Led Zeppelin Stairway to Heaven t-shirt on. So this is the cover of the album that from the cover of the album that Stairway to Heaven came off, which is also called Runes. And so it's an image that's taken from tarot, and the images on tarot are all archetypal images, or pretty much archetypal images. So like the wise old man is one. The kind of earth goddess type character is, you can give them different names, but they're all kind of the same really. And one very prominent archetype is the trickster. So the trickster manifests in, you know, different. It's interesting that and I've never watched a Marvel film in my life, but you know, people are talking about Loki all the time, aren't they? Now Loki was a Norse god that was very much, you know, manifested the trickster archetype. So the trickster is, as the name would suggest, kind of tricky. So both playful, mischievous, but also, you know, potentially, you know, darker, you know, potentially kind of harmful. Very similar to kind of like, you know, pixies, really. Pixies have the trickster kind of archetype within them. The Jungian theory around poltergeists would be, or one Jungian theory, or one Jungian interpretation of poltergeists is that it's a manifestation of the trickster archetype, which is kind of interesting. And so archetypes tend to exist within us. Okay, they don't necessarily kind of, you know, trot about living their own existence. So, but this is a kind of interesting take on poltergeist, is that sometimes our own psychic material, I'm using the word psychic in the terms of psyche, as in psychology, our own, you know, what's going on in our minds, can actually project into outward phenomena. So that would kind of tie in with theories around telekinesis and stuff like that. So what that theory is saying that is, you know, so you kind of have to kind of take on quite a lot to follow this belief. First of all, you have to kind of you know, accept that archetypes are a thing, and that it is the trickster archetype, and that that's something that exists within your mind, but that is something that actually can project itself into reality, into external reality. Now, I'm not going to explain that in any more depth, because you can watch that video, which does explain it in more depth. And the guy who's experiencing the poltergeist, who's kind of wetting himself, he's kind of being told by one of his colleagues that this is something you can learn from. This is a message for you. This is part of your mind that you've shut off, trying to tell you something. And it's doing it in a very tricksy way, but it's doing it for a positive purpose. And if you work with it in the right way, you will benefit. So isn't that interesting about poltergeists? So there we go. So that's the poltergeist bit and the Jungian side. Cellars and basements, are they the same thing or are they different? Is it kind of cellars more British and basements more American? So I've been watching these programs, which like I say I probably shouldn't watch because it's probably nonsense, but they're quite entertaining, and often something weird is in the cellar. So first of all, you could explore that from a Freudian or Jungian perspective. So the basement would represent not only the unconscious, but the repressed material, things that are scary and threatening, that you don't wish to have in your consciousness, that you push down and lock away. So as a symbol, the basement would certainly represent that. So that would kind of fit with the Jungian theory that we've just talked about, and I think it's something that Freud would also go with, although Freud would be less comfortable if you told him there were noises or emanations coming from your basement. He'd be more inclined to say that that's something that's within the mind, not in that external reality. Now in reality, do cellars tend to be haunted? In my experience, which isn't kind of vast, but having been on the periphery of the ghost hunting community, and run ghost walks, heard lots of stories and read lots of books, I'd say kind of quite rarely are cellars haunted. The most common place in my experience that's haunted is ladies' toilets. Which is kind of quite interesting. I don't know if I mentioned this in previous videos, but that seems to be the most common place. And when I was on doing my ghost tours and I was talking about this, one of my customers happily pointed out that he had a theory why women's toilets were the most haunted places, and he said that's because they spend so bloody long in there, which I thought was quite a good. I actually borrowed that and used that as part of my tour. That's the great thing about hecklers. You just steal their material and use it. The only haunted toilet that I came across wasn't really a haunted toilet. The only haunted basement that I came across wasn't really a haunted basement. It was actually a door that used to be on a lady's toilet was removed and placed in a basement, and a strange phenomena occurred around the door. So it was a haunted door in a basement rather than a haunted basement. So I don't know if the basements are frequently haunted, but they are in films. They are in horror films. There's always basement or attic or both, and it kind of makes sense. So like I say, with the Freudian thing, so it's the hidden part. It's the hidden. It's the cast away. Locked away part of us, where our fears live. But also, they're often not nice places. They're damp and they're full of spiders and they're dark and not always the nicest place. So it would kind of make sense to for the purposes of atmosphere and storytelling, just to put things in basements. Now, would there be any real reason why a basement would be likely to be more haunted? Well, I have heard the theory that infrasound, I don't know if we talked about infrasound yet or not, but we will if we haven't. So infrasound is something that some people believe is responsible for ghostly experiences, but it's actually something that's occurring with the mind and the body in response to a particular frequency vibration that occurs naturally. I believe that sometimes can occur more often underground. There is more dampness around, so there is a theory that supernatural phenomena are more likely to occur in a damp atmosphere. And another theory that someone on Facebook kindly shared with me, because I was asking other people's opinions on this, is maybe places that aren't exposed to daylight might be able to sustain ghostly phenomena more easily. There is a theory that, and this goes back to the days of, the early spiritualism, that which is why seances and things are always done by candlelight. That light can actually deter ghosts from manifesting, or anything from manifesting. And when they believed in ectoplasm, which was a kind of a very wafty kind of matter that used to supposedly manifest in seances and things, that would be destroyed by light. If you put light on it, would just disintegrate. And I've read books on occult books that have said that there's some truth in that, and that when we put the light on because we think we can hear something in our bedroom, the very act of putting the light on does get rid of it. Most ghost hunts seem to take place at night, although apparently I've also heard somewhere that you're more likely to experience ghostly phenomena in the day. So who knows what to believe on that one, but interesting theory. I have another theory as well, in that if we are talking about ghosts as spirits of the dead, who are earthbound and who are in a house and think they still own it, and this is check out the earlier video for background to this. So imagine you kind of you died and you're in a spiritual body rather than a physical one, but you're still occupying the house that you lived in. Maybe you know that you're dead, maybe you don't, but other people are in your house, and they're all over the place. They're in all the rooms, they're up and down the stairs, they're in the corridors and what have you. There's a likelihood you might want to get out of their way. You might be actually quite frightened by them. So you might take yourself to the attic, and you might take yourself to the basement, to the cellar, just to get out of their way, which is another interesting one. Now, I've got something going on for me at the moment, around, not exactly a basement. I've got an undercroft underneath my house, which I guess is where it would be. A statement of the bleeding obvious. And because I quite like, I like cellars and basements, and I like caves and mines and tunnels and things. I love all that, but I've always been reluctant to kind of go down there, mainly because of the insect life that dwells in this country. Cockroaches and wetters and kind of big scary and spiders that can give you quite nasty bites and stuff. So I've always been reluctant to kind of get down there. I had to get down there for some reason, I can't remember what it was, but I was kind of quite reluctant, and I kind of so there is some damp emanating from there, which I'm trying to work on at the moment, and I think some of it is rainwater that's coming in, and I'm filling in holes and doing various things along those lines, but I don't get a good feeling from this basement, and I don't like the room which is immediately above it. So I'm working on that at the moment, and so again, I think it's either something to do with what the house was used for before, because it had a previous use, which wouldn't necessarily left good energy around, or it's just a projection. It's my projection. It's something to do with something in my unconscious that I'm not quite ready to face, that I'm scared of, and I'm kind of picking up with that kind of metaphor again in more of a kind of a Freudian way. So I hope you found that interesting. I've done videos on other paranormal topics, and they're all in a playlist, so check those out. And I'm going to return to another topic of the series that I did, which is about demonic and spirit possession, and I'm going to add in the Jungian theory, so I'm going to be doing another one on that. So if you've watched this one, you might not want to watch my next episode in that series, because it's going to be basically talking about the same theory but under a different heading. But it'd be nice if you watched it anyway, because it's always good to see you. Thank you for watching. And now I thought I'd been interrupted before, and I hadn't. Now I have been interrupted, so I need to bring this one to a rapid close. Have a happy Halloween if you're watching this live, and from the dark side, Rangimarie, thank you for watching. Goodbye.